Didn't say in it.
Yeah, it just says it
Where does it say in it?
right up there.
Does it say REC?
Oh, yep.
Yes, sir.
This is 23rd, isn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now 7 o'clock and I call this General Government and Public Safety Committee meeting to order.
The 15th, sorry.
First, we do roll call. You got it, okay. Pledge allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move on any further, I wanted to first say that tonight's committee meeting is being recorded. So I'd like for everybody to use their microphones to amplify their voice, and if you have public comments, to rise and go to the microphone there on the stand. But before we go to public comments for citizens, I believe the mayor would like to discuss something.
Yes, I would. First off, I'd like to recognize Steve Overman in the audience this evening. Y'all remember Steve was working closely with the advocacy group here in Centralia for Americans with Disabilities issues. We worked very well with Steve, and he'd asked me to prepare a proclamation in recognizing the month of November as Epilepsy Awareness Month. So, without further ado, I'd like to do that. Epilepsy Month Proclamation, November 2012. Whereas one of the most common disabling neurological disorders, epilepsy, affects more than 3 million Americans, with approximately 200,000 new cases being diagnosed annually. And whereas epilepsy, one of the most common disabling neurological disorders, affects numerous Missourians and Centralia's residents, with no regard to age, race, religion, ethnic background, or social class. And whereas seizures are the most common neurological disorder of childhood, with 120,000 children in America receiving medical attention each year for the first or newly recognized seizure. And whereas it is important to ensure that people with seizures are able to participate in all of life's experiences, groups such as the Epilepsy Foundation of Missouri and Kansas are attempting to prevent, control, and cure epilepsy through research, education, and advocacy. And whereas the Epilepsy Foundation of Missouri and Kansas provides community education programs which exist across the states, including urban, suburban, and rural outreach, which includes seminars and presentations to educators, nurses, students of all ages, law enforcement, and employers about seizure recognition and first aid. Now, therefore, I, Tim Greinke, the mayor of the city of Centralia, do hereby proclaim November 2012 as Epilepsy Awareness Month in Centralia. And I urge all citizens to join in this special observance. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand to this proclamation and caused the seal of the city of Centralia to be affixed this 8th day of October in the year of our Lord 2012.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for all of your help in recognizing the needs of Americans with Disabilities in Centralia. Appreciate it. And if you're welcome to say a few words if you like.
I would, and I guess stepping up to the microphone is one of the reasons that the Centralia Accessibility Committee has been working with the current aldermen that are here and the new aldermen that are here, working for the citizens of Centralia to assure that everyone in Centralia, able and disabled, will be able to get around Centralia and be able and participate in this. Basically, I see that we're doing it right now. I'm talking to the microphone. Right now, it's being recorded, basically for those people who are able and disabled, want to participate in the Alderman meetings will now be able to do so. And if they have any responses, they can go on the internet and do so. It was nice that the alderman, specifically the mayor and I believe Paul Millian, participated in the meetings that we had. I see the main reason from me seeing how the government works here is that nothing can be done unless there's money available, and I learned that from the city administrator, and I thank you, Lynn. But I do see when new sidewalks are being built, I see curb cuts, I see a lot of improvement, and none of them being with a horn being sounded or things like that. The city just continues to assure that those people who are disabled, and the city is following the American Disability Act. And I am very glad to see the city continue to work. I am glad last week's news article about last week's meeting in P&Z, ABA was mentioned in it. It's good to see that Centralia is now aware and will continue. And so I thank the mayor, city administrator, the board of aldermen for everything that you have done. And perhaps when I'm in St. Louis, I want to see what's going on, I'll click on the website. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we're moving on to the comments from citizens. As I said earlier, if you have comments, please stand for the microphone prior to making it and state your name and your local address. Hearing no comments from citizens, we're moving on to a statement from Arthur Collins.
I'd like to address the issue of school resource officer versus law enforcement officer.
Mr. Dolan, could you state your name and address?
Art Dollins, 230 South Rollins.
Thank you.
As I said, resource officer versus law enforcement. And only because of our last school resource officer, I became well schooled on the differences between school resource officer and a regular police officer. And I'll try to kind of like to forewarn you folks about a difference that's going on, in my opinion, and how it's being done, and the risk it's putting you at. First of all, when kids are in school, educators have a wide range. You can call it interrogation or question matters because it's considered discipline. Kids don't have to have a parent or a lawyer present. When a law enforcement officer talks to them, they immediately have the civil rights of a parent or a lawyer. So let's go back to, I call it the Nemo Sports memo that I was given. We had an ex-officer challenging the chief. And let me get this straight, I have no big bones with Chief Dungeon, point blank. I discussed lots of things with him. And you can agree or disagree with whatever, but when I read on a memo from an administrator that any time, night or day, the chief will come up with creative solutions, did y'all get to read that memo?
I haven't seen it.
I don't know.
From Dave Myers?
Oh, okay. They were all thinking I was the administrator. No, I don't think we got that.
Administrator at school, athletic director at that time.
I don't think.
I have not seen it.
Well, it was well circulated around. And when you say a solution from law enforcement in that capacity, first of all, it's a subtle difference between creating solutions and processing the law. And when you're dealing with kids, it was just like I said over here before they got school resource officer. And I said every piece of wad of paper, every bubble gum wrapper, every paper wad would get shoved off on law enforcement, and you get real intimately involved with the juvenile system. Happened to the T. And the problem you get into is this: FERPA laws, what's the privacy rights of those students? When is law called in, when is it not? Now, my child just went through a deal where it was all abused. That's what I'm going to tell you, flat straight out. Cooked up, baked up, and sent. Right here, you see this? I'm going to give you history on my part of Centralia football in the last 20 years. In the mid-'80s, Brian Crocker held the purse strings of the Knights of Columbus bingo, Saturday nights, religiously, every Saturday night, ran it. I had a nephew that went through, and I think I was the 5th captain of my family to play football up here. The 5th in 1977. I had a nephew go through and play 3 years of football and won maybe 3 games. Played as a sophomore, unheard of back in the day. Very few did it. Back during our time in the 60s and 70s. So, said, Mr. Crocker, why don't you guys get together and let's take the older players and reintroduce the love of the game of flag football. He called me and said, we're going to do your idea. Now, you all go ask him, we'll see if it's true or not. Participation increased by almost 80% of the boys were out in 2 years. I wanted to start padded football at that same time. Dave Holshire and Darcy, oh no, we can't do that. I moved to town, I started padded football. I started padded football. You got that? Not one sponsor. I went to your Chamber of Commerce, blackballed me. Coach doesn't want it. 3 years. 3 years. One benefactor, Dan Dollins. Tons of work did by myself. The kids raised the money for all the equipment. You just lost your streak that correlates exactly with that when those kids got to be seniors. Our first year of flag football was the first winning season we had. Those kids went 8-2 and lost to the Monroe City and Warsaw, who played in the state championship game within 5 points. Earl Bennett's first year. You get it? Now you want a good long history of all of it? I believe I got history of these two both in football. Second part of my discussion tonight is about the youth football program. You've got a looming challenge coming at you. Plain and simple. I've discussed this with your park board from the very beginning of my Title IX deal, the intermingling of the city and the school. Same thing I'm talking about on school resource officer. Discipline, or is it law enforcement? You get it? Who makes the call? Now, I had my brother was escorted off from the youth football game here within the last month. 6 weeks before that, he notified people with certified letters. He got escorted off. Guess what? Lifetime member of the youth football. That was the arrangement. You've got your friends in the park and somebody that's appointed on your park board that's a major player in this. I myself have pushed at times for it to go to the optimist or go to somebody else, but to bring it around where the daddies don't run amok. But I'm going to tell you something. The last time they were playing in Columbia, there was a demographic mismatch in the age of the kids. They take all their kids and balance their teams amongst their 7 teams. How many kids, boys, are there in Hickman and Rockbridge? How many are there in Centralia? 17, 18, 20 to 1? A lot of the more physical athletes drop out even. It's even a bigger difference between our kids and those teams down there. Uninsurable. You got it? Uninsurable. How does this affect you all? Intermingled. You're intermingled through your park board and that committee and that whole deal with the school. At times I think they run it. Now, where does this all go? What would make this all work? Love of God, mommy, daddy, my football tradition, black and white? No, I've spent, I would say, probably approaching 1,000 hours with lawyers from Kansas City about this community. And he called it soft money. Soft money. Candle sales, gate receipts, brats, t-shirts, car washes, on and on and on. Well, surely that couple $100,000 ain't enough to create all this lying. And I'm talking about straight libel and slander of my character, because I expect integrity. You can find out in 10 minutes who your best athletes are and put them in place. But around this place, they have a hell of a time getting back there. Or any place else. Now, soft money siphon. Soft money siphon. Accounts, money goes from one place to the other. No, you can't get to the bottom of it. Guess what? You get a whole line crusade, run around. Oh, is he saving me? He's going to blah, 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 blah. And what do you get? How's it work? Right. I'm talking about your school administration. And then I'm coming back, same thing. They're entanglement with your law enforcement. And entanglement with your park board. Is this pie in the sky? How did your batting cage work? How does your softball girl's batting cage work? I want to know how the money worked on that. Does it belong to the school or does it belong to this city?
Belongs to the park,
Belongs to who?
the park board.
The park board owns the land too, right? That's sitting on.
It's-
And the concrete is attached to the land.
It's titled to the city, and the city, by city code and state statute, as a park board, has total control and authority over the land that is designated parks and the money that is raised for parks, i.e. the park property tax levy. So they are in control and they're responsible.
The park board,
Right.
non-elected, and he appoints them, right?
Yes, sir.
Everyone.
And that's-
And how do they get nominated and put up to him?
I guess there've been a variety of ways, but basically he asked for volunteers. And he asked for recommendations from the
Okay,
third
all
party.
right. And you know something, this thing can be spun like it was 50 years ago, 30, whatever you want, just like a lot of other things around here. And I'm gonna flat tell you this, straight up, every penny that comes in, if a little softball girl goes out and washes the coach windows to pay for that thing, but it's sitting on public property, and I'm a citizen of this town, and then you're sitting there telling me, okay, we're gonna rig it around where Mr. $1 million farmer out here has just as much say or whatever through all these evidence. I'm gonna flat tell you, well, come on, squint your eyes at me like you don't understand what I'm talking about.
I don't.
Intermingling this place with the school.
We don't.
Okay, we're at an impasse right now. And I'll guarantee you, I busted you on 3 grants right up in this place.
What do you mean
Still
busting
on
us?
Thomas Fair,
Okay,
okay,
that was a school resource officer grant.
right. That was supposed to pay his salary. And then when he talked to the guy, he said, no, all we pay for is to go to a seminar out in the desert Southwest, less than $700.
Get paid for both.
They paid his salary, they did not pay his salary. I got an email from the guy that says they do not pay salaries. You couldn't do it all over the country.
You're mistaken. We received a grant, it was good for 3 years,
To
paid
cover
for
his
new
salary.
I'm
officers
talking about the
designated.
end of that. When he was gonna be hired the next go-around, and I'm gonna tell you, it correlates perfectly with $50,000 over the budget police department that nobody seemed to know about either, that pops up on the internet. Did that not happen? Did the police department not go over $50,000? Was that not on the internet? And was that not, I took it to board members, exactly the same year, kind of the same time we had our safe school sidewalk, right in that same period of time.
we spent more than was originally budgeted. Changes were authorized by the board, it wasn't $50,000.
I believe the budget I read said that.
Since I don't have a budget here and it will take me some time to get you the actual numbers, I wish I can. There was no correlation between anything in the Safe Routes to School grant other than we read a call for grant proposals and we got together with a consulting engineer and made the request and were awarded the grant for all the legitimate reasons that a grant is offered. It was needed.
Right. What was that grant for? 150, 250, what was it?
248,000.
And what did y'all spend on that sidewalk over there? 60,000?
248,000.
Would you like to see the documents? I got a box of all
Yeah, I
the
would like to
bids.
see them. I would absolutely like to see them. There's not even rewriting any of that.
Doesn't have to
Didn't
be.
call for it.
Oh, I know. Well, let's go talk about the truck that ran over and broke the ends off all the slabs when it wasn't designed for automobiles.
No, there shouldn't have been a truck on it anyway.
Well, it's still broke and it's not fixed and they're still not rewriting it.
You're not gonna have a sidewalk that doesn't have cracks in it. So the sidewalk is functional and it is perfectly all right and it has been approved by the state.
It has been approved by MoDOT.
Oh, they passed the final approval, did they?
Yes.
Yes.
And well, the other 5%, well, let's go over and look at the cracks. You wanna see where the truck broke the ends off each one of those slabs?
We have. We walked over and inspected the property.
Did that cause them to break the ends of those slabs to break
I
off?
have
That
no
truck drive
idea.
across that?
Maybe we need to find a truck driver and issue him a citation for driving
You
on
got a
it.
picture of the truck on there.
It very well could have caused it, but it did pass. And the
What's the
state
grant
approved
figure?
it and they awarded the grant.
All right, keep going. So here's the next one I'm gonna give you. Boone Electric. $300,000 for a geothermal system at your elementary school, or at your middle school.
Don't know anything about it.
Right, well, you,
Nor I.
probably not, yeah. Here's what I'm telling you. It's pretty easy to audit. All of it is. On the internet, most of it.
We publish our audit, we publish our budget.
And here's what I'm telling you. You use your legal system to run my good kid off the program with juvenile delinquents, and you went too far.
So we caused your son
I
to
just, well,
be thrown off the football team?
this whole,
I don't know.
hey, do you want me to name 10 situations where FERPA rights were violated by Centralia School Resource Officer?
I'm
and
sure you
kids?
could probably name 100.
No,
50
No.
years old? A
no,
bunch?
I can name 10.
Okay.
Alleged.
Alleged.
Right. It's all alleged. Until you do the audit.
Doesn't the school board get audited every year? I don't know.
Sure.
So,
All right, so here's the deal. I basically made my statement. Is there any part of it you don't understand where I'm coming from?
I'm curious as to what you want us to do.
You need to make sure that either your law enforcement is a school resource officer by definition.
We don't have a school resource officer anymore.
May I?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. School resource officer position was eliminated when Tom Fair's grant ran out, okay? The only time that law enforcement is involved in schools is when we're called by schools, okay? Actually, this discussion was just had between the principals and ourselves just recently, okay? Any violation of the Safe Schools Act, okay? Okay, that's where we go, okay? We take a report when they deem it's necessary. When school's beyond knowing what to do, that's where we come in, okay? The fact is, I'll tell you something, okay? Some of your facts are misconstrued and wrong, okay? I don't work for the school board, and neither does Chief Dudgeon. I work for this city and that man right there,
That's exactly why I'm up here.
okay? I don't take anything from the school board or anyone at the school, okay? I don't have, whatever you wanna call it, allegiance to them, okay? They call me for service, I'll respond. Okay? School resource officer has nothing, that position no longer exists in the city of Centralia.
And hasn't for quite some time.
Quite some time, sir.
Which is why when the school calls law enforcement responds.
I mean, and that's the thing about it. I mean, I'm not sure where we're going with the whole school resource officer thing. Okay, that's in our past. If it's something that we need to address or someone needs to address, okay, that's fine. But we're not there now.
Well, look, here's what I'm gonna present to you. There is a lot of intermingling with the police department and the students.
We have a good relationship with the school board.
Okay.
Yes, I will agree with
All right,
that.
so here's
But
what
with the, hold on. We have a good relationship with them because the fact is, I'm here. One of my jobs is to see that every one of those kids, let me finish, as successful as they possibly can be. I had one in my office today. That was the conversation I had with him. Because the fact is, he screwed up. He knows he screwed up. The thing I told him was this: all I want to do is see you succeed. And that's what I want to see with every one of these kids in this town. Probably the same thing you do, Art.
Yeah, you know, I've had discussions about it,
Okay?
so you know something.
So the thing is, I'm going to tell you though, the thing is, I think we're going about this two different ways, and you're looking at this totally wrong. Okay?
I've got more time invested than you do, brother.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
And pay
But
a
I
lot
will-
less.
Well, you know what? I'm paid for what I do. And I'll tell you something. The thing is, we earn every dime we do. Because the fact
I'm not
is,
gonna question it.
you know, these guys, these kids, you know, they're not here for us adults to argue about this. They're not for any of that. They don't care about this government. All they care about is the fact is, I want to see those kids succeed just as much as they possibly can. I don't care if it's football, basketball, softball, academics, number one. Academically is where we want them to succeed. Do you disagree with that?
No, and we've had discussions, and I told you, this is not an indictment of the chief or the police department, except for
That's what it
this.
sounds like.
No, well, here's the deal. How can you spend so much time over there with them, and then the discussions with them not be used as interrogations versus, because the whole thing with discipline, now,
Go ahead.
the whole thing with discipline is, it's just like this. A kid gets out of line with a little wacky weed or something or whatever, kick him off the football team.
Right?
Got it? Kick him off immediately. You can test him and even know whether he's got in the system, whether it's illegal or not.
Right.
You get my directive. You see how this works? Their job is to mold them in discipline-wise. And then when the trigger's pulled about who gets the law enforcement pull on them, I'm telling you, in this town, it's been inconsistent.
Not inconsistent on our part.
That,
Not inconsistent on our part.
not near as bad as it was. I'll give you total credit for that. And even that we're even talking says it's better than what it
Well,
was.
I agree with that. I would say not as inconsistent as you think it is, because the fact is, when we're called,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
respond and we'll take care of it. The fact is, I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what their last name
I
is.
appreciate that.
Okay? I wasn't born and raised in Centralia. Okay? I was born and raised in Columbia. I came up here. I've been here 7 years, 8
Do
years.
excuse me, do you understand when I'm sitting there and I read a memo, and I guarantee you the list of people on that memo were cited for probably one of the first Missouri cyberbullying things from a school computer, allegedly. Allegedly.
So,
Now, and they say anytime, night or day, we can get a creative solution.
creative solution could mean anything though.
Well, here's the problem I got with it. I still come back to this. When you're in school and you handle your discipline, you have stages of everything from withholding to all the way to expelling before it becomes legal stuff.
Let me tell you something. The very first year after Tom Fair was, the school resource officer was eliminated, the position was eliminated, I responded to the school 31 times that whole next school year.
Was that too
31 times.
much?
31 times. No, that's a massive reduction. Because the fact is, they were taking over discipline. School's doing their discipline issues. They're taking care of their discipline issues. I don't think I've been there probably 5 times since school started, maybe, the most. So, like I said, what I'm trying to tell you is, the thing is, they're handling the biggest share of the discipline. The only time they call us is when it's a law violation, or something that violation of state schools, which they're required to contact us. Okay?
Tell you what, I'm not taking my more of your time, here you go, they want my kid's equipment back,
I don't want it.
I'll give it to the chief. He can
I have nothing to do with
up
it.
here.
I have
Right
nothing to do with
there.
it.
And he's intimately involved in I'm not accusing him of anything, but here's what I've got to say. This whole football thing up here, long, deep, and hard. And a bunch of people stealing money and lying. That's what it boils down to. And more than likely stealing it from disabled kids. Soft money siphoned, and then the hard money to the tune of what, 2 years ago it was 15% of their $11 million budget, which mostly should have went to, guess what? It's all keyhole for what?
I don't know, I don't read the school budget.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't read the school budget either. But do you have documentation and proof of all this?
Well, here's
I
the deal.
mean, you're making all these allegations.
Well, here's what I'm telling you. Just my example of your batting cage over there, is that not intermingling?
We have a batting cage and we can't let the schools use it?
What they call, no, well, wait a second. I mean,
Raised
no,
by
Who
donation.
raised the money?
Joe Angel, by donation.
And under what capacity? What capacity was she, and under what insurance, under what, was it,
I really don't
charitable
care.
contributions, how was it done?
I really don't care.
I mean, does
It's the
that?
people of this
It does
community
me,
doing
because I have
good
an
things
active
for the
timeline
people of
claim
this
this to school.
community.
Okay.
I got 52 pages from the 2 key players and one of his wife of allegations they made that I'm gonna get to read someday, they're blanked out. From the very start, one of them I never talked to in my life, the other was less than 2 sentences. So you get it, you're intermingled, and you're gonna get called on it, okay?
Thank
Deny,
you.
deny.
Thank you. I guess, we can take that under advisement.
All right, moving right along.
I'm not too sure what that's your problem.
One thing, the only thing he brought up that I would be concerned with. The commingling money, I don't know about it. It sounds like civil or whatever. I don't know that we have anything to do about it. But would somebody have to state if they were doing a civil service project, what capacity that they're operating in? That makes no sense to me.
I don't know why.
And so, I don't think you have to state whether you're raising money as a coach, or as a private citizen, or as a employee of the city.
Right.
Likely, you're just doing it as an individual.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason to state your capacity in a small community like this. But that's, I don't understand the purpose.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Moving on to public safety.
Thank you.
City prosecutor. Okay. Police department, do you have an activity report in your packet? Any questions or comments?
The synthetic drug, is that out there at the,
Should
Smoke
be
shop.
listed under occurrences and charges, yes, I was just reading it. Synthetic cannabinoid dangerous drugs. Yes, that is the charge from the smoke shop.
so we got it twice on it?
2 different charges, distribution and possession.
Any other questions on activity report? Moving on to the report on code enforcement.
Okay, Larry had asked me to convey to the aldermen that, ask them to go through their wards and come up with a list of what code violations that they've seen. Tall weeds, improperly parked vehicles or not licensed vehicles, and, give that list back to the, police department. And,
Can you request that? Okay.
last meeting, Landon asked for a report. The chief said it was gonna happen while he wasn't here. I conveyed that to Larry and to Sandy, and they went over, and evidently don't believe that there's as big a problem as perhaps was indicated. So they're asking for assistance to
identify places
to help.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
What do you consider the most serious?
Let's clarify here this for just a few moments,
Thank you.
okay? Sandy does a bang-up job on vehicles, grass ordinance, and stuff like that, okay? Now, let's talk about buildings, houses, okay? Sandy's not an engineer, okay? Yeah, we can drive by the houses and say, man, that looks bad, it needs something done to it. As far as citing folks for dangerous structures and stuff like that,
No,
that's,
that's me.
that would be.
And Sandy wasn't asked to do that, and
Right.
I'll mention what progress has been made on the infrastructure. They were asking about,
Too many vehicles.
Too many vehicles,
Yeah.
S&D Auto, there's, how many vehicles are?
Here's where we're at on it. Now, Mayor's not here, can't answer the question, but when you say too many vehicles, you're looking at a place that is zoned business, is a zoned business,
Okay.
okay? You fought this fight over at O'Brien's before, correct?
yeah,
Okay.
we did.
Where,
the state
where,
did.
what happened with that?
We hit a stone wall.
Because the
Mr.
way the
Mr.
ordinance is-
O'Brien said that all those vehicles were not junk or salvage, they were being offered for sale. Lack of ability to prove any different meant that he was in the
Yeah.
sale business and
Right.
could go no farther.
Okay.
And the State Department of Transportation was not able to go any farther either.
Okay. The thing, and I don't have a problem with anybody's shop, that's their livelihood, that's their thing. Now, the thing is though, our hands are tied because the fact is, by the way ordinances are written and everything else, and that business being zoned, that business being zoned the way it is, and the turnover he has, I mean, yeah, there's vehicles that have been there for some time. I agree with you, there are.
The
But,
weeds are taller than vehicles are.
do what?
The weeds are taller than vehicles are, that's how long.
And if that's the case, I'll stick Sandy on. We'll take care of that.
My main thing is to clean up around the businesses like that. I mean, yes, he's in business district, but there's houses over there.
Right,
If I lived over there, I wouldn't wanna look at that. I would be up here complaining about it,
I understand that.
you know? So, let's fix the problem before we have that problem.
Well, I'm not sure by current city ordinance what all we can do with it.
It sounds like there's two different things, the weeds being tall.
The weeds,
on the street,
that's
would be
easy, that's easy,
The weeds,
That's
Sure.
that's easy.
the cleanup is what I'm worried about. You know, people over there live there over there, eventually they're gonna start complaining because there's gonna be all kinds of vehicles over there. And they're gonna bring it to us. So let's get a stop to it now before we have that problem of them bringing it to us.
Okay, how about this? Let me offer a little bit of a solution possibly here. How about you bring that business owner in here, or several of the business owners that you have concerns about, and talk to them about it and see what they do about it voluntarily. That's just an option I'm throwing out there. What's it?
It wasn't particularly effective last time. I admit it hasn't. It depends on which one you're talking about. I mean,
Well, I mean, that's.
the one, yeah, but I think you're talking about Mr. Harvey's,
Harvey's got,
and he has business license.
okay, then let's change that ordinance.
He's
And
zoned
it would-
industrial.
It would be
Let's change it.
grandfathered in.
Well, let's change it so nobody else does it. So anybody can go buy a business license and store as many cars as they want to
Now they have to have proper zoning. It has to be
There-
in the
Proper
business
zoning.
district.
In the business district, yeah.
business district, indoor industrial property.
Okay, I'm gonna use Charlie for an example. Sorry, Charlie. He can go and buy 200 vehicles and set them around his property.
If it fit, yes.
I mean, can they be stacked on top of one another? I mean, how's that?
If his business is a salvage yard, I.
No, salvage yard is different.
Zoning.
All in favor?
I think it's a, special use requires a conditional use permit, which is why Mr. O'Brien alleged that he didn't have a salvage yard.
Okay.
I'm sure that the zoning board can take a look at it. I'm not sure they will arrive at any sort of conclusion that would enable the city to have a tool to address that, but I can bring it up.
Yeah.
You know, the business has been there a long time, there at that location.
Okay.
In fact, I own the building you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything to do with the business. And those houses were there when my building was zoned commercial.
Mhm.
So if, you know, if that's something that they don't want, then they shouldn't have moved in that neighborhood.
Right.
I mean, they know they're next to a commercial building.
Mm-hmm.
That,
And the change of zoning would have had to have been public hearing a little bit.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
just it's industrial.
Mr. O'Brien has, well, he was there when I got here, so.
yeah, he's been
Yeah,
there.
it's been a while.
A long time.
Yeah.
What we're talking about were issues that were in process when I got hired.
Mm-hmm. 27 years ago, by the way.
And that property
Yeah,
is on
but
B2, which would still allow for auto sales, but wouldn't necessarily allow for a salvage yard, but it's never been able to be proved that it was a salvage yard. It's just selling cars,
Sure.
in whatever shape. Clifford has a license to sell cars out of the Narragansett building, that by the way is zoned industrial. Mr. Harvey has a license to sell cars out of his, which is zoned industrial. Carl Henderson has a license to sell cars, he's in B2, ditto the other auto sales up along next to what used to be the Dairy Queen, and of course Boris has a license to sell cars.
And Alderman Sanders has a piece of property that had he purchased a license to sell cars, he could do that too,
Yes,
out of his property.
because it's OL B1.
Commercial.
I would have to check on B1. I know B2, but Sanders is B1.
Okay.
Now, our licensing doesn't have any density concentration
Yeah.
or anything like that to it.
Is that something we could look at, having a density put on the license? And you got a 3-acre lot, you see you're allowed no more than so many cars for sale, or so many cars for repair. I mean, that's being pretty restrictive.
You limit other businesses in town?
Yeah, that would limit that.
I mean, what's the ordinance of the 72 hour here?
I'm parking on public street.
That's it?
Yeah. Parking on public street
Mhm.
or highway.
Is that the ordinance for trailers as well? Is that the one that talks about parking trailers?
Trailers are different.
Trailers are specifically not supposed to be any place except an area that is designated by ordinance for trailers and semi-trucks and that sort of thing.
They, to read the ordinance today, it's allowed 1 hour unless you're loading or unloading, and it's up to 3.
For a trailer? Okay. That's on any public street?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let me research about any other place that has zoning that includes density for auto sales lot. I'm not aware of it,
Okay, I'm not even.
but I can research it.
Okay.
It's something easy to Google.
Is there anything more on code enforcement?
Well, we got 2 aldermen missing. As an interim measure, is there a problem with addressing the chief's request? And if you have some properties that are particularly concerned to you that we haven't somehow, because as I'll report in a second, I was not aware of the condition of that storage building until you brought it to our attention.
That's fine.
we'll address what we can, we'll give explanations if we can't, and then you can go from there.
Thank
Thank you. And other police departments.
Just a little caveat, just to let you know. The activity reports you get is a monthly thing. I went back and looked at yearly today. Just to let you all know, we're almost 9.2% over what we were last year as far as calls for service. We're at 9.1% over what we are as far as reports. Numbers, 343 more reports than what we took last year this time. That is significant for a town our size. I think Danny could probably tell you his medical calls are up too, probably. But
Bob, is that due to the economy?
I'm still
Or-
trying to figure out where the big increase has been. I know there's a lot of fraud cases out there. We've got a lot of fraud cases from the banks and stuff like that. And I would say that is one of the more significant ones. Be it wire fraud, be it whatever. I mean, there's many different kinds. But just to let you all understand that, you know, the thing is, if you want to compare numbers and see where we're at, your police department is very busy, very busy. Yes, sir. I'm not asking for anything either, John.
I'm glad.
I'm just letting you know.
I'm glad that you bring this up because it's been a concern of mine that the reports that we see monthly do us very little good as a standalone report. And the figures that you are now claiming are against year to date.
As of 7 a.m. this morning, yes.
I think that it would be useful to the board in the packet to have those kind of figures offered on an ongoing basis. Because if you haven't got a baseline to compare them against.
Do you want them,
Fiscal year.
let's say, compare 2012, 2011, do you want to see those numbers?
I think it would be very useful for a board and in turn useful to the department. If you could see either year to date or what might be more applicable is same month, year before, to keep seasonal trends in the mix.
Okay, okay. I'll make it happen.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the fire department, the activity report. Are you?
Chairman, could I introduce some?
Sure.
I didn't finish the, well, I guess I can do it under, under protection, never mind. I'll bring it up at the proper time.
All right, excellent. Any questions on the activity report? Is that better?
It wouldn't rain so much if you turn down.
Other in the fire department? Really not that easy.
How'd the bonfire go last week?
Too many boxes.
Too many boxes? Man. I know there's a lot of embers floating up in the air.
Got lots of little kids like playing fire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I bet too, so whatever.
Bills?
Well, thank you for doing that, by the way.
Still liking the new engine?
Huh?
Still liking the new truck?
We're working on it. You know, we're not opening the doors and throwing stuff in, it's gonna put in.
Nice. Taking care of it, that's good.
We gotta go to the school this week, this is fire prevention week, so we're going to school a few times. Got
Girl Scouts coming over one night and stuff like that planned this week. And got a training tomorrow night with Boone County outside of town. We're gonna go out here at the anhydrous, kind of look over that with some stuff.
All right.
What's there anything else?
Let's see, you know, yeah, 6 1.
You will send anything for the fire department?
I did hear that the pump on the new truck is tremendous. They out pump the other trucks 3 months.
They ought to, it's twice the truck.
I know. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Good, thank you.
we just gotta have enough water.
Okay.
There's that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Moving on to emergency management.
Not a question.
Okay.
Or nothing other than what they need, the exercise.
What?
Going out to the hazard plan. Training tomorrow.
It's, yeah, I mean, they wanna get together and do that anhydrous plan, and then we're gonna all go and do the, once a year they make us, well, MFA has to be, the little green out there, where we go through and
That's our stuff.
everybody knows where the shut-off things are, and stuff. That'll probably be the next week, so.
Good.
And Lynn, now is your time. Okay, inspection.
No new building permits for residences, although I'm still expecting about 3 or 4 to drop into my office any day now. The citation was issued for the property at the end of the street since they haven't done any cleanup work. That was the reason they were cited. Work seems to me to be satisfactory on the brick repair on the lumber yard.
On the lumber yard?
I mean,
Feed mill.
the feed mill.
Okay.
The tuck pointing was requested. I have drafted, cleaned up a notice to Clifford that's more formal than the last request. But after conversing with Merritt, he wanted me to take pictures on the day I issue the notice, and I haven't taken pictures, so tomorrow I will take pictures.
Thank you. I was gonna ask if that was on the schedule for in the near future, but yes. Thank you.
Last week you brought up the building over next to Kincaid's. And in my mind, I guess that building just kind of void there. I was always picturing the addition with the loading docks and stuff like that, and the metal roof, and that's all I was seeing over there. There is the small building that's what's left of a larger building, and indeed, as Alderman Sanders says, the roof is collapsed, and the brick along the top is in bad shape. And so I talked to Mr. Kincaid, who said he was surprised at the condition after he acquired title to it. He is now the owner. He came with the home oil building, and he's in the process of assessing with engineering advice whether it makes sense to try and repair it or to just remove it. It might take a couple of months to see action on it, but he is aware of it, and he will take action.
Any other things on particular inspection?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving on to general government and finance, economic development.
Okay, the chamber will not be meeting until a week from Tuesday. Opposite the park board meeting, I'm not quite sure which one we're going to go. So I'm not sure Jenny will have anything new to report at the board meeting either, because it'll be the next day before anything takes place. I'll leave that to her.
Okay.
And the board proceeds on the barbecue.
Right.
I think that's her primary focus right now.
Also, mark your calendars for November 1st. It's the Grady kickoff for the Purchase with a Purpose campaign. So that'll be at 5:30. 5:30 at the country club, I
I think
believe.
it's 5:30 or 6 o'clock at the country club.
Yeah. So, everybody's invited. Like Alderman and Wayne, you're invited. Mayor, you're invited to the kickoff.
Police department, fire department.
Oh yeah, everybody. I've invited the Mid-Missouri Regional Planning Commission and all their members as well. So,
Sure.
we'll see.
Don't spend money in your town, come up to Centralia and spend it in our town.
That's what the mayor of Ashland asked me. Oh, you want us to come spend money in your town? I said, well, yeah. You know, why not? You know, I was down at the meeting in there, I bought ice cream cone at McDonald's or something, I don't know.
We support
It's better, right?
we support the regional planning commission.
Right.
The salaries and stuff like that, that supports Ashland.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not cheap. The application for the EEZ is done. Has been for a while. I gave a copy to Bernie, asked me for comments if he locates typos or something I should change emphasis on. What needs to be done is to finalize the memorandum of understanding in a way that the county is satisfied, and then make appropriate changes from that to the ordinance that declared the level of blights and abatements. And with that regard, I think the changes mostly address specifics about the role of the county assessor, who gets stuck with stuff that he really doesn't have the authority over, so they want to clarify some things. Now, I've talked to Merritt supposedly talked to Mr. Dykehouse, but I have not seen any work product. Whether it will be here in time to put on the agenda for next Monday, I don't know.
Okay.
There's nothing more that we can do until there's a meeting of the minds between our attorney and their attorney, and they're both,
Okay.
they're not loggerheads or anything like that, they're just busy people.
Is that something we can recess next week's meeting until,
If I
November.
thought that there was a definite time, and we did this once before, it didn't
Right,
work out
right,
for me.
right.
So if there is a legitimate reason to believe that will be done by a fixed time, if
Okay.
it isn't done by next Monday, then I'll let you know.
Okay, that's fair enough, thank you.
Moving on to the park board, there is an agenda in the packet, in the meeting. Curious, Lynn, if you had a chance to speak with Mike about.
I did, and they'll discuss it next
Park
week.
meeting.
And I communicated that back to Mr. Baltz, that they will, in all likelihood, if they have a quorum, they will discuss it at their next meeting. I'm not twisting anybody's arms. There's not that kind of collusion with the park board.
Excellent.
I got the impression they thought that they'd done a good job of working through the list that had been brought to their attention, and all the higher priority items had already been done, so they're a little confused about what the alternatives might be that are being suggested, unless for some reason Mr. Baltazar believes that the $12,000 could be spent on sidewalks or something out of the general fund instead of out of the park department funds, which is to be used for park department and recreation.
True. And I believe based on the email, that's what his belief is. And I had emailed him over the weekend to say, you know, that's a different expenditure, we don't actually even approve that as a board.
Oh, yeah, and so did I,
Right.
and I just got a
Right.
blistering response.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Well, you must have done it wrong.
Can you put a smiley face at the end of it, or?
No,
Yeah,
no
exactly.
smiley faces at all.
So you can drive your point home?
And I'm not very happy with it. I have forwarded it to you, and I have forwarded it to Lynn.
Haven't got it yet.
I haven't
Oh,
done
I
it.
just,
Okay.
You literally just did it a little bit ago.
it's been past a little while, yes, but no, I forwarded, and it just, he sent 2 emails that were just total rants.
Yeah.
But that's the best way I can describe it, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's he on a rant about? What are we not doing, and what does he want?
And get all
In a word, more.
faster.
Can you send that to me too, please?
Yeah, they'll be happy to.
Thank you.
I understand that. I must be lost, what are we talking about?
There was an email sent by Mr. Troy Baltazar.
Mid-Missouri Advocacy.
Coalition.
He was specifically referring to the purchase of ADA compliant doors.
Yeah.
His first question to me is, how exactly are you working to address barriers in the community? I have a hard
It's a good thing this is my last one.
I have a hard time getting
Okay, I
details.
suspect, no. It was a mass emailing
He said to all of us.
to all of us, but I think he was probably using a list of email addresses back about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I can tell you he's.
And that's why Landon probably wasn't on it.
Actually,
I got it.
Oh, he did get it.
Yeah,
he just needed my help.
that's right.
Nice.
Mutual Aid Society.
That's right.
Was that fun for him?
Yeah. Mike Martin, who's Mike Martin?
Mike Martin
Oh,
was the
the
blogger,
Oh,
the one who
Weekly
is-
Science, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that one. Thank you.
I actually got a really cordial reply from him, based on over the weekend, so maybe it's the way you've asked to respond.
I told you.
That's your face. Look, I'm Kevin's great. And I forwarded my response to you, and you thought it was very appropriate.
I did.
So, it's like, I used,
So you know what I sent, and he wasn't anywhere as
he
caustic.
told me that as an alderman and a representative of Centralia's citizens, I am responsible for making sure that this is completed.
So do you wanna
Wait
know
a
how to make
second.
the check out?
I think that's part of his form letter that we got a couple years ago, so I think
It
that's
might-
standard language for him. Don't take offense.
It kinda
Don't
sounds
take
like,
it personal.
it kinda sounds similar to another author of said type of letters, but I don't know.
Anyway, and then he brings up this Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Right, that was passed in
Sure,
1890.
sure. Well, in his original email, what he was stating is that he doesn't believe that money should be spent there. He says the doors are already ADA compliant, meaning why are you spending money on these automated doors when the doors that are there are perfectly fine?
Which is a good argument. Is it not?
Yeah, and my response to him was, is that it's not something.
It's not us.
It's not us to approve.
That's the,
And if they felt that addressed the other barriers of the park system,
Exactly.
then
And he
it's a
did,
legitimate thing for them to do.
absolutely.
And
yeah.
And
I know they probably don't believe it, but within the financial capabilities, it's not just what we're required to do or what the park board's requiring to do, because sometimes we try to do things because there are good things to do.
sure.
That help. You know, if it's beneficial that they have that, so opening and closing doors, why not?
Sure.
Investigate it. I don't know of anything else that they have that's been brought up to them other than the ramp for handicapped people to get up on the gazebo.
Which is part of the emails, or the we received earlier today.
Oh, yeah.
I think after the meeting, I better go back and read all these emails, see if going back and forth.
Yeah, check your email.
Yeah, and that's different from what the city's doing, which is we budgeted money for sidewalks, next year we'll more remodeling, all rebuilt the.
And I recommend Mr. Baltimore to contact the park board, and if you needed help with identifying who those people were, I'd be more than happy.
He knows who they are, he's been to the park board meeting
Okay.
before, so.
Well, that's where his first.
You know, kind of reiterate one of the suggestions I made year and a half, 2 years ago, was that we locate where people with disabilities live and focus on those sidewalks towards the center of town. And, I think we've been trying to do that.
Each time I've talked to Mr. Hammond, I said, if you have priorities you would like us to be aware of, please let us know. We're doing ramps, but we're also doing some sidewalks in between, because you can't get from one ramp to another. It
That's the
doesn't
point,
matter.
yeah, right.
And if we're doing ones that aren't on the traffic ways you think are appropriate, I mean,
Yeah.
I did that last year, I did that when I gave them the list of ramps last week.
Okay. Thank you.
And they have not made suggestions.
Okay, thank you.
Anything more from the park board, or any questions or conversation? Moving on to the cemetery report.
No.
People are still using the cemetery, right?
Unfortunately, we had a rush on them for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Tree board report.
None.
I do want to note that I guess it was the electric department took down the dead tree on that.
No, we took down many dead trees last week.
Okay, thank you.
The city's taken down the ones that are easily accessible
Okay,
rather than bombing those off on asphalt.
okay,
Asphalt's doing the ones back where you keep the truck to.
all right. Thank you.
Okay, the library board.
I believe they meet tomorrow, don't they?
Agenda.
Yeah.
All right, September financial statements. You see in your packet there?
Do you have one? We're still trying to figure out some ways to get rid of zero line item accounts that we'll never use again. I'm not sure that that's gonna be real easy. You may just have to live with the extra zeros that make it a little more cumbersome. For year to date, we're still above last year for sales tax collection, counting what we just got on Friday. And we're ahead of budget. And I think we'll end up slightly ahead of budget on property tax based on what the valuations were. So, the extra office repairs and, stuff over in the police department and a couple of other things for the time, I think we're covered on those. Bob,
Yes, sir.
I don't think we've gotten the other check back for the narrow banding of the radios and stuff like that.
I've only sent you one bill, I thought you got that one. I've only submitted one.
We got $757 or something back.
Well, you got the initial payment for the radios, right?
Well, if it came in, it doesn't show on the report, so I'll investigate.
Let me-
talk to you about it.
I'll talk to you more about it. I'll tell you, cause that's been submitted, and I'll just talk to them and see where they're at.
And as I told Mr. Collins, we were finalized out by MoDOT on all of the sidewalk construction, design standards for ADA, that part we had to redo. And it did cost us $250,000. In fact, it cost us a little bit more. We did chip in a little bit because it enabled us to make the sidewalks in front of the school a foot wider along the whole distance rather than just part of the way. Part of,
From what I understand.
the big part was the fact that it was a quarter mile long and it had a fence along it.
Susie, you there?
Any other questions for the financial statements? with bills over $1,250. Any questions?
I think you got some revised list, because there were some typos, the numbers didn't change, but
Numbers didn't change, just who they went to.
Munch was misspelled in one case, and it's UMB, not UMP,
Ah, got it.
minor technicalities,
That was
Totally.
placeholder. Oh, those were red.
which,
When will we be expecting the other bill for the rest of the skid loader? We paid one, right? Is there another one coming? Yeah.
I have to check with Phil. I'll give you an answer tomorrow.
Tomorrow, actually, or whatever.
Any other questions on the bills? Other general government? Lynn, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Then the other section.
I don't have anything there either.
Okay, as they arise.
I move we adjourn.
For a second.
Yes.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Okay.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
I think the audience even said aye.
Landon?
Yeah.
I know it may not seem like we do a whole lot, but that's,
Bill?
that's the accumulated
Okay.
weed notices and junk car notices and dangerous structure notices. So